one thing I do remember is the smell. So I think there was some of the bodies must have been lying there for a day or two. They begin to smell, you know. So they put your sort of hanky over your, or whatever you had over your, maybe they were probably enemy. That was over the top, you know. So, but at this point, I didn't think as I looked over the top, no sign of the enemy at all, not a sign. No matter how hard I looked, I couldn't see anything at all. But as soon as I got over the top, my foot to that, the other side just opened up at once. So we all rushed it like an express train down. You can imagine just how fast we run down that hill. Actually, there were 3 of us together, running together. The centre chap shouted, "Oh, I've been hit, I've been hit." And the other chap says, "Keep running, you bastard, keep running." Bullets were simply whoosh. You could whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. You could feel the whoosh, whoosh. You could hear them, and you could actually feel the breeze as it passed there.
They call this place Death Valley because of the number of people who were killed trying to take Hill 481, but generally the whole area. Over in the horizon you can see about 20 or 30 windmills. The plan is to set up something like 250 windmills in a park eolic. And a lot of local people are getting very upset because some of the posters say 100,000 people died in this battle to defend Catalonia against fascism. And now they're destroying and digging up these bones to build these huge wind turbines.
Atop one of the highest mountains on which Scots fought is a monument dedicated to those who fell locally. The roll call includes the names of many Scots.
We've got 90 names here.
2 men from Alexandria alone, which is a very small place. Glenn and Lobban, surely friends.
And a lot of these, they don't know where they're buried, just under some pile of rocks here in Hill 666 and other places.
My father often attended conferences and that. So when he went, I suppose, I assumed that it was just to wait another conference. Then eventually my mother told us he'd gone to Spain. So I must say I was immensely proud of him because, as I said, I went round collecting all the signatures of the returning international brigaders. Oh, my old man, it's an idea. It was great. But at the same time, I also realised he was in danger. And when we got the word first that he was missing, well, that was a cause for concern. Then one day, when I came home from school, my mother says to me, "George, Dad won't be coming home." "You're now the man of the family." Christ, I was 12 years old. Dear George and Eric, in a last letter I wrote to Mum, I said I would write the next one to you and have chosen today, Sunday, as I have much leisure time, and I hope to tell you. At the moment, I am sitting on my bed, and directly below, I am one stair up. There is the infant school, which I mentioned before, where the kiddies sing No Passaran, Internationale, and a song about the International Brigade. The wee girls are also... Since I have come here, I have never seen a sweetie, so we'll know especially what the children here are missing. Some have great red bows in their heads. Well, fellas, I have no more to write just now. So we'll keep close hoping that you, George, have made progress with your violin. I could do fine with you here, Eric, to sew on buttons. I suppose you will be going up to see your grandpa and grandma. Hope you're all well. Your dad's best love. Salute, camaradas.
Must have made you feel very proud.
Aye.
At the end of August 1938, the Scots who fought Franco were holding firm in Catalonian mountains. They remained deeply committed to the cause, despite monstrous conditions and heavy losses. Yet their fate was set not in battle, but in the corridors of power. In late September, the Republican government announced the withdrawal of the international brigades. They believed that the move would force Hitler and Mussolini to remove their troops from Spain. It was a forlorn hope. Surviving Scots marched through the streets of Barcelona as part of an emotional farewell parade. Hundreds of thousands of Catalans lined the streets to salute the heroes of the international brigades. The great Republican leader, La Pasionaria, paid tribute to their efforts, telling them, "You can go with pride. You are history. You are legend. We will not forget you."
And you women of Spain, tell your children, tell them of the international brigades. Tell them how from across the seas and the mountains these men came to our lands. You gave up all to come here and to tell us your cause, the cause of Spain, is ours also. Many of them, thousands of them, remain here, and their shroud is the soil of Spain.
The Spanish Republic the Scots had set out to defend was eventually defeated in the spring of 1939. The fascists marched victorious into Madrid, and Franco established a dictatorship that lasted for 36 years. The democracy Scottish volunteers fought to protect in Spain was not restored until after Franco's death in 1975. In contrast to Scotland, there was a desire in Spain to forget the Civil War. Journalist Sid Lowe discovered the reasons behind this when he moved to Madrid to cover Spanish football for the Guardian newspaper.
One of the key factors in the transition from post-Francoism and his regime into a democratic regime, which they have now, was a collective pact of silence, a collective pact of forgetting. And it was very consciously, let's not talk about the past as a way of moving on to the future. Culturally, I think psychologically, emotionally and socially, Spain is still a country that's marked by what happened, not just between 1936 and 1939, but of course for the next 40 years under a Franco dictatorship.
Journalist and author Giles Tremlett describes the impact of this silence on daily life.
One of the things we've discovered from this whole process is that Spaniards don't still agree on what happened during the Civil War. They don't agree on the interpretation of the Civil War. They don't agree about how good or bad Franco was. They don't even agree about what the Republic was like, whether it was good or bad. And so all those old wounds, if you want, which had been silenced during Franco's years and then sort of kept under the carpet during the first years of democracy, well, all those things have reappeared. When I've gone to speak to people in villages, I found that often you can be talking to someone perfectly normally in the street about what happened during the Civil War, and that suddenly a neighbour will walk by and that they'll either shut up completely or start whispering to you, simply because they don't want that neighbour to hear what they're saying, because that neighbour was almost certainly on the other side of the Civil War. His family was on the other side of the Civil War, and there's blood between them. Some people say there were two sides to the Civil War. Another theory is that actually there were 2,000 sides to the Civil War, that each village was divided in two, and that actually what really hurts in Spain is the fact that the killings were done in each village by other people from that village, and that after the bloodbath was over, everybody had to keep on living together, and that was the real problem.
The end of the Pact of Silence has allowed many developments in Spain. The efforts of Emilio Silva have perhaps been the greatest vehicle for change. What began for Emilio as a search for his grandfather's remains has turned into a countrywide quest to dig up mass graves of Republican victims, as he explains.
10 years ago, I left my job in a magazine to write a book about my grandfather. He was a political militant during the Second Republic. He was killed by the Phalangists in 1936. And then I went to the area in the northwest of Spain where he lives. And I started to talk with old people about the Civil War and the years after the Civil War. And then I found a man, a communist militant, who said, I know the place of the grave of your grandfather. And some months later, with a group of archaeologists and forensic doctors, we opened the mass grave. I identified my grandfather with a DNA test, and I put his bones with my grandmother.
Though they could not defeat Franco, the Scots that went to Spain had squared up to fascism before the rest of the world got around to it. Scotland can be proud of them.
We are very, 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 very grateful for these people, because for me it's the most solidarity of one people is take his life to fight for the freedom in another country.
I can't quote it word for word, but it goes, for evil to succeed, it only takes good men to do nothing. And these were good men, and they did something. And I think it's an example that we can take today to make sure that evil doesn't succeed.
No, I don't regret going, no. I'm quite pleased I went. I mean, I thought it was something that should have been done, you know.
Oh, it's one of the greatest experiences of my life. It's the highlight of my life, apart from being married and having my family.
I'm only sorry we lost.
It was, I think, probably the most inspiring moment of my life.
Even if I live to be 100, I'll always be glad I went to Spain.